discover how to create multiple streams of income and financial freedom in today's episode with Joey Muré. Joey Muré is the host of the podcast Wealth Without Wall Street, and he has a community of 8,000 people getting on their way to financial freedom. And he has so many more achievements that he will tell us about himself. So, Joey, please tell us, how can entrepreneurs create multiple passive income streams?
Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu. Mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
And Lily, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk to people who are like-minded. And at the end of the day, it really starts with why. It starts with what is really motivating you to get to financial freedom. For me, I will just tell you, I have 5 daughters, and they do not stay little. They grow up so fast, and they want to spend time with you today, not when you're 65. And the idea of retirement is really not in my vocabulary because I always want to provide value to the world. But man, the only way to get there is I have to have my money working for me so that I am not the one required to be at work. And so what we do is we actually created the passive income operating system, which helps people to get organize their cash flows, to store it properly in the most efficient vehicles, and then to automate that process to be able to buy assets that create passive income every single month. That's our claim to fame, and that's the way that we help people do that.
Thank you. Tell us some of these techniques for entrepreneurs to create multiple streams of income.
I will tell you, Lily, it starts with that entrepreneur's individual investor DNA. And that's a process. It's a profile that takes into consideration your personality. So are you familiar with like the DISC profile, Lily?
Yes.
Okay, so some people are really high drivers, right? They're the D in the DISC, the super driver oriented, or maybe they're influential. They love being kind of like the center of attention, and they are really bubbly and personally driven. Or maybe they're the person that's really steady, like a loyal kind of stable type of personality. Or lastly, they're very numbers driven. They're very conscious about the details. Depending on which one of those 4 profiles, you're going to have much more success lining up that profile with the type of investment that you're seeking to do. And that can mean anything from land flipping businesses to short-term rentals to cryptocurrency type funds and syndications. We've done everything from long-term rentals to short-term rentals to renting RVs to renting cars on the Turo platform, private lending, even e-commerce businesses. And most recently, we've got into the vending machine business. So I can talk about all these things and more, but I think the critical thing, Lily, is most people chase returns and they chase things that other people are doing, but they've never stopped to slow down and say, how can I make sure that the things that I'm doing line up with my personality, how God's kind of created me to see the world?
Thank you. That is so fascinating. I've never heard about this concept before of matching your investor DNA, the way you like to operate in the world, with the investment type. So tell us about the 4 types of investor DNA and what kind of opportunities for investment would suit a particular investor type.
So I'll start with that high driver type, right? The D personality. They want to get things done. They love control. They love speed. So if there's something that's going to take a lot longer to maybe come to fruition, for instance, actually we did a podcast the other day on the e-commerce business. And those e-commerce businesses can be super, super profitable, but a lot of times they don't produce a result for sometimes 12 to 18 months before there's an actual profit because they're very capital intensive. You're turning over products and you're having to wait on things to come over from China or India or wherever the case may be, wherever you've found your products. and it's a very slow moving business as a result. Well, a lot of D drivers kind of lose like interest in that because it's like, man, when is this ever going to come around? Compare that to a high D may really like a private lending deal because they can immediately see, oh man, I just negotiated this deal and I was able to get owner financing. I was able to get this, 12 to 15% return overnight. Those are the kind of things that I think that like a high driver really likes. They like to own businesses. They like to, especially businesses that are creating profit immediately. So just think about that. On an I personality, that's somebody who's very bubbly and family or personally oriented. They love things that are like hospitality driven. So think about like the short-term rental business. This is where you're hosting people in a home or multiple homes. Maybe they're on the lake, maybe they're at the beach, whatever the case may be. They love owning those because they love to talk about it. They love to share it with people, and they don't mind interacting with people as they have questions and things like that. But if you get somebody that's a high I and you have something that's very slow and steady and it's just not really that exciting, for instance, like a long-term rental, they're not going to really love that because it's kind of boring. It's you put money in, you have a management company, and then maybe creates $200, $300, $400 a month. And they're like, this just isn't moving the needle for me. I want something fast and exciting, things like that. Whereas somebody that's an S personality, that's actually more like me. We love things like private lending. We love things that are slow, steady. They have collateral, things that are like multiple ways that it could go wrong, that we know that we're still covered. I'll tell you one thing that I actually have just really enjoyed is outside of private lending is just having other operators that I've partnered with that are really good at what they do. Most recently, I just bought a couple of content websites. These are websites that just have really good information on them that people are searching online, but then they have backlinks to affiliate offers. Well, I'm not really techie. I'm not really good at the operation day to day, but I will partner with people who are good at those things. And so that's a really hands-off thing. I like being hands-off. And so that's really good for like an S profile. And then lastly, the C profile, that's your very detailed, conscientious. They're double checking all the facts and all the details. These people like things that have just been tried and true. They're easy to calculate. And a lot of those people will get into the land business. Now, the land business, when I say that, I'm talking about the landgeek.com, if people are not familiar with it, where you buy raw land from an existing seller for maybe 20 to 30 cents on the dollar, and then turn around and turn that into an owner financed note to a retail buyer at roughly 3 to 4 times what you bought it for. It's a very slow and steady wins the race, but it can create lots of income. For instance, our land flipping business that we report to the world is actually producing over $33,000 a month right now as we speak.
Wow, that's fascinating. So what is the biggest problem, for example, for having misalignment between investor DNA and investment opportunities?
There's several of them. So one of them is people don't even know that it exists. Right? Like you said, I've never heard this before. It's something that we've developed over the last 15 years of trying different things and them not working out or them working really well. We've started to realize there's something to this. Like, why is this working for me? And maybe it's not working for you. The second thing is people just get, again, I think I mentioned this before, they get hooked into what's the return on investment? What's the numbers behind it? And they don't really care what the investment is. And so they just throw money at something because they've heard that it works for, you or it works for me, but they really haven't considered, is it really a good fit for them? And then the last thing that I'd say is I think people just lack exposure in general. We started a mastermind around this idea because people are just like, how are you finding these deals? How are you, like, who do you talk to find these opportunities? They just don't have them in their natural networks, Lily. And so they just don't run across their desk on a regular basis. And so I think when people misalign with the investment, it's because they don't have enough exposure. They don't have people in their lives that are really introducing them to these ideas.
Thank you. Now, when an investor comes across a really good deal, I think the most likely occurrence is that they actually just go for it, right? That's the typical thing. And is it through like trials and tribulations that they discover actually that is not for them? And in that case, what's the solution? Is it to partner up with someone who likes those types of opportunities and it's so easy for them to do it? Or what's the alternative? Because first, people don't even know about this stuff. Like, how can they discover what's their DNA, and how can they apply this so that they make sure that they get the right opportunities for them?
Well, first and foremost, I want to give your listeners a great resource at the end of the show where they can get access to this. Actually, if you go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/awaken titans, then you can get access to some of these things. So number one, that's an easy answer. You know, people can get access to that. But the second thing is, to your point, I think people jump very quickly at deals when they've never seen enough. And so I would caution people that you got a little money sitting aside and you start to see, if you just see one deal, it looks really good because you don't have anything to compare it to, right? But if you see 10 deals, that first deal that you saw may be the worst out of the 10. And so I think it's better to slow down and to purposely go seeking out to see what else is out there, not just jump at the first one. The second thing is, as you mentioned, maybe it is good to partner with somebody who's already done a lot of deals if you're just getting started or you're just trying to get outside of your own business. Because a lot of entrepreneurs do that. They get so honed in on their own business. They know that very well, right? And they've been investing in their own business maybe for a long time. And now they look up and they've got some extra cash. And they're like, oh, well, I'm a successful entrepreneur. I should be able to invest. But being a successful investor is totally different than being a successful entrepreneur. They're two different skill sets. You have to now put on a due diligence hat, right? You have to be able to look at a deal from the standpoint of, does this meet all the criteria of my investor buy box, right? And when I say that, most people don't even know what an investor buy box is. Well, is it have tax benefits? Does it create passive income immediately? Or is it based off of future growth only? Does it have an actual way for there to be equity built into it? Or is it just a return of capital over a period of time? There's so many things, Lily. And if you haven't done this, like you hadn't slowed down and defined what those things are for you, I will tell you 9 out of 10 investors look back and they're like, oh man, I never should have done that deal because I didn't think about all these aspects. And now I've tied up my capital and I can't get it back. So there's a lot of things and variables for somebody who's just starting out as a successful entrepreneur to be an investor. You really have to surround yourself with other investors to learn that skill.
Thank you. For someone who has anywhere between 100 and 500K to invest, where is the best place to find opportunities to invest? Is it through a community like yours where people share these kind of opportunities based on the fact that perhaps they know they came across some investment opportunities and it doesn't fit their style of investor, and therefore they would be happy to pass it on? Or where is a good place to look for these type of opportunities?
Well, I'm going to start with the idea that this is somebody who is just trying to get started, and maybe they've not been doing this for a long period of time. And I would give you this analogy first, Lily. When we start out our careers, we're happy to trade dollars for education because we think, well, with that education, I can earn so much more money, right? I mean, that's why I went to college. That's why people get their MBAs and doctorates and all this kind of thing. They think that it will trade out for more money. But when it comes to investing, it's shocking that most people will not have the same mindset. they'll just jump in and put money into a deal, but they've never really been educated on how to be an investor. And so what happens is they spend their education money on the deal that goes bad. And they realize, oh man, now I'm not going to do that kind of deal again because it didn't even return my capital, or it was such a bad ROI. I didn't think about these factors that were involved. And so they learn by, sharing their dollars to find those educations on the hard way. What I would say, whether it's our community or somebody else's, find a mastermind, find a group of people who are like-minded. They're trying to get to the same point that you are wanting to get to, and that there's people that are further along than you are. If you're the smartest guy in the room or the smartest gal in the room and you are trying to teach others, it's the wrong room, because you don't have the skills that you're looking for, and the people around you don't either. So find the people who have done what you want to do, invest in that group. I don't care if it's an annual fee or a monthly fee or whatever it may be, but that is your opportunity to be educated so you can pay wholesale for that education instead of retail, which is what most people do when they make mistakes.
Thank you. Tell us some possible multiple streams of income, passive income opportunities.
Well, I'll tell you some of the things that we've done. I can just share from personal experience. As I mentioned, we have the land business, and that is such a great business. It's one of my favorite because, land doesn't have all the variables that regular real estate has. There's no tenants, there's no toilets, there's no termites. It's just raw land. And people want to own raw land, but if you can make it affordable to them, where they pay monthly to own that raw land, now you've made it a very easy thing for them to do. And so they will pay you handsomely for that. That's a great one. Another one that I would say is the e-commerce space. We've kind of mentioned that, but Amazon is one of the top places where businesses are thriving right now. They have essentially brought all of the consumers to one place. So if you're not really great at sales, but you're a good operator, you can build a business on Amazon because the sales part is roughly done for you, right? It's already kind of completed. If you're just a really hands-off investor, you can get involved in many different types of what we call syndications. So people that are investing in mobile home parks, people that are investing in multifamily or like apartment buildings, people that are investing in oil and gas funds. These are all syndications, and there's a million different ways to do it. But that gives that person kind of the ability to be hands-off and to just trade those dollars for cash flow today, and in some cases, equity that if they were to exit 3 to 5 years from now in that particular asset, they now receive a big chunk more than what they put in. It's not uncommon, just to give somebody an idea, for someone to invest 100K, let's say, into one of these projects and to return 200K over the course of 5 years. So just to give you some idea of what's possible, that's a pretty common way that syndications work. I've mentioned that private lending. We've done private loans to individuals. We've done private loans to businesses. So we have one, tribevest.com. If people aren't familiar, it's a great platform to start an LLC or to invest with a group. It's a really cool concept. And we were able to act in an advisory role with their company and to provide a loan early on that they pay us monthly for. And we're able to even get some ownership opportunities as a result. Really, really cool opportunities like that. So some of your folks that are listening have influence in certain industries, and those industries may require some capital to grow. I think there's some opportunity to use your influence and your expertise to get really good terms on loans and to then also be able to advise those businesses. So those are some things that are semi-passive, right? You're doing a loan, but you're also acting as some sort of like a board or advisory group. And I think that's really cool for people that are driven and want to impact where they invest.
Thank you. Tell us some of your case studies of entrepreneurs that you've helped either with training or with your podcast, with some information that has led to some results related to creating wealth and financial freedom.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's two folks that I'll bring up very quickly. Jeff is one of the guys that we met a while back at an event. He started down this path of just doing land flipping as he was leaving the military. Okay. And at the time, he was trying to figure out, how do I create passive income so that I'm not tied to just what I'm going to have in my retirement from the military. He was going to be retired in his young 40s. So he had a lot of time left. And he started down the path of land flipping, but realized that he really needed a great place to store cash. That's where we met him and introduced the infinite banking concept. When he started down the process of the infinite banking concept, all of a sudden the world opened up that he had now access to cash, which I'll tell you, Lily, is one of the number one reasons why more people are not financially free, is because they put money in Wall Street. They put money in 401ks and IRAs and all these places that you can't access your money. And when they do that, now they really stagnate their ability to get to financial freedom because they don't have accessible cash to invest. Well, Jeff got that cash available. He started investing in land. And now he's sitting there again. He's retired from the military. He's got this semi-passive land business on the side, producing passive income. And he's got more freedom of his time than ever before. But the second person would be a guy named Sid. He and his wife, he was an excavator. He literally ran an excavator for the family business. His wife was a nurse, and they had a very young family. And he was like, man, I really want to find more time to help raise my kids. And I would love for my wife to not have to go to be the nurse and come home to help us raise these kids. And again, just through working with us, he set up his own passive income operating system, which is what our group really focuses in on, what we're known for. And through that, he also actually started a land business after he was in a terrible accident on the side of a mountain on a snowmobile. And he had broken his leg, and he's sitting there. He told me the story. He's sitting there, and he had been listening to our podcast. He had his system in place, and he realized, I've just broken my leg. I'm waiting to be airlifted off of this mountain. And what am I going to do? Like, how? I can't drive an excavator with a broken leg. I've got to have some passive income. And that prompted him to go down this path of building a land business. Now he has created over $50,000 a month in passive income through that. His wife no longer works. They've got 4 small children. And man, he just talks about how he works because he wants to, not because he has to. It's a beautiful thing. And those are just the tip of the iceberg as far as the people that we help become financially free who really want to get there faster.
Thank you. What are your 10 commandments for financial freedom?
Oh, man. I don't know if I have a full 10. I'm just a simple guy, Lily. But I'll tell you this, financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses. Most people think of it as I've got to accumulate a ton of money into an account. So it's like a big mountain that will eventually come to me like passively. But the reality is that is only if you ever get to that point. The immediate way to get to financial freedom is to start buying assets that produce passive income. Because as soon as that happens, Lily, your calendar is your own. Nobody else owns your time but you. You get to determine what goes on the calendar and what doesn't. And that's what we're really trying to do. It's not about accumulating a large pile of cash. It's also not about paying off all your debts. It's not a very popular idea, but a lot of people are saying, pay off all your debt, pay off all your debt. That'll be free. You'll be free. But the reality is, whether you owe nothing to anybody or you have some debts, you're always going to have the cost of living, right? There are groceries that you eat, the utilities on your home, the taxes that you pay, the insurances that you pay. All those things will never go away. In fact, they go up every single year because of inflation. So if you're not focused on creating passive income in some way, shape, or form, there really is no freedom by just being debt free. Beyond that, I would say, again, Wall Street has a way of telling you what to do with your money that benefits them, but doesn't benefit you. It keeps you from your freedom today so that they can create cash flow for themselves. So I would say think differently, think long range, create passive income today, and also work with a coach. Get objective ideas from people who are already where you want to be so that you can get there as fast as possible. I don't know if that was 10, Lily, but I'm just throwing up exactly like all the advice I can as fast as I can.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
Well, we set up a specific page just for your listeners. It's wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/awakenedtitans.com, or excuse me, awakened titans, no .com at the end. And our contact info is on there, and some resources, free and otherwise, are on there. So love to connect with you. Just let me know that you heard me talking to Lily.
Thank you.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.